Part 4: The Eternal Flame of Unfading Love. One day, daughter Sune lay on the bed, blinking her eyes wearily. Her face was pale, but her eyes were clear. In her gaze, deep love and gratitude towards her mother were evident. She grasped the rough, wrinkled hand of her grandmother Oki and struggled to speak. Her voice was faint, but it carried deep emotions. With a trembling voice, she finally spoke the words she had kept deep in her heart. Each word felt like a warm dagger melting Oki's hardened heart.
Mom, you are the most wonderful person in the world.
Sune's words resonated deeply in Oki's heart. Like a seed planted in dry soil, a small emotion bloomed in her heart. Warm tears welled up in her eyes, a mix of joy and sadness. These tears seemed to melt away decades of resentment.
Every day I have lived up until today is all thanks to you, Mom. I couldn't have survived a single day without you. I am truly grateful for protecting me like this. You were everything to me. You were my very life. Your love kept me alive.
As Sune spoke, tears reddened her eyes. Warm tears flowed down, falling onto Oki's rough hand. These tears were not just tears of sadness, but expressions of deep gratitude and love. Oki silently held her daughter's hand. For her, her daughter's small gestures and words were more precious than any reward in the world. In that moment, all her pain seemed to melt away like snow. They relied on each other, seeking the meaning of life together. One warm word from her daughter felt like soothing Oki's weary soul. Their small room felt like a temple filled with love. Isel, a 44-year-old caregiver who visited the Blue Dawn apartments for care services, was deeply moved by this mother and daughter. She felt a sense of awe every time she met Oki. Oki's dedication and love gave her great enlightenment. Isel quietly opened the door to their room. The warmth of love in the room enveloped her.
It seems like Grandma is healthy because of the mental strength to take care of her daughter. It's like a miraculous event that can't be explained by any medical explanation. It's the greatest love I've ever seen. Grandma's devotion seems to give strength to overcome any hardship in the world. Truly, Grandma's life teaches us all a great lesson.
Isel expressed her admiration for Oki's strong will. She added that whenever she saw this mother and daughter, she realized the greatness and nobility of motherly love. Her words were not just praise, but sincere respect born from deep admiration. In the face of a mother's love, any pain or despair in the world seemed to kneel down. Their lives stood tall like a massive mountain range named motherly love. The resilient thread of motherly love had crossed over the hills of a long century of life. In her youth, she had been a beautiful and passionate middle school teacher who dedicated her youth and passion to the classroom. But after a tragic accident left her daughter paralyzed, her life turned into a giant sacrifice for her daughter. She had spent half a century burning with motherly love for her daughter. The mother's words that she took care of her daughter with total paralysis to the extreme without even a moment of rest are like a tear that pierces the heart. The tear buried in her painful confession would have flowed like a river. That river would have been the deepest and widest river in the world, made of endless love for her daughter. Who could repay the mother's youth? Her life was like a giant sacrifice dedicated only to her daughter. Her sacrifice stood tall like a strong mountain, becoming a sturdy support for her daughter's life. Her 4-year-old daughter, who became disabled, is now 88 years old, while the mother has reached 100. In a place where the river of pain flows and the sea of time unfolds, the love of the mother and daughter, stained with tears, shines even brighter. Their life was filled with suffering and sacrifice, but the love that blossomed within it was more radiant than any jewel in the world. Unable to age for the sake of her child, unable to leave for the sky because of her child, unable to close her eyes. It was like the destiny of every mother in the world. It was the ultimate expression of maternal love, unable to take a step towards the other world. Because her child is weighing on her, like a strong pillar supporting her child's life. What is the most beautiful thing in this world? What is the most precious thing in this world? It is probably the mother that we cannot forget. Giving birth, raising, growing old, worrying about children, unable to die even if she wants to, the mother is irreplaceable. Her life existed solely for the happiness of her children. They say there is nothing more precious in this world than a mother's love. A mother's grace is higher than the sky and deeper than the sea. That love is like a river of life that flows endlessly. That river will flow eternally without getting tired. Whenever the dim light of dawn shines through the window, traces of love for her daughter remained all over Okey's tired face. After passing through the long years of devotion, we are now in our 30s and 40s, walking in the footsteps of our parents. Can we follow in the footsteps of our humble mother like this? We question ourselves whether we can show as much sacrifice and dedication in our lives as they did. Let's think about whether we have lived conveying warmth to our still living parents deep in our hearts. Remember how precious today is, where we can murmur warm words to our parents' shoulders. Our parents are our benefactors. Their presence alone is the greatest gift to us. If you see an unfortunate elderly person on the street, don't just pass by, show genuine love from your heart. You might discover a faint smile of our mother in their faces. All mothers in the world are great. Their love is the greatest miracle in this world. That miracle is quietly breathing somewhere around us today.
Up next, story explanation.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're wrapping up a story that's really stuck with us over the last few deep dives.
Yeah.
We're diving back into that powerful narrative from the accounts called Mother's Love, or Young You. We've already talked about the beginning, the really tough middle parts.
Right.
And now we're getting into the final part of this incredibly moving story.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the story of Oki and her daughter Sune, spanning almost, 100 years?
Pretty much.
So our mission today really is to unpack these final pieces, these last accounts, and maybe more importantly, kind of step back.
Reflect a bit.
Exactly. Reflect on the whole journey and see what core insights, what human truths we can pull from it. It's pretty profound stuff.
Okay, let's do it. For anyone just joining, or maybe you need a quick refresher, let's quickly recap the first three parts. Where did we leave off?
Sure. So part 1 kicks things off. We meet Oki, who's 100, and her daughter Sune, 68. They live together, small apartment. But then it flashes back, way back to 1939. Oki's young, a teacher, really passionate, and Sune's just 4, full of energy.
Totally different picture.
Completely. Then bam, this awful accident. Sune suffers severe head and neck injuries, the diagnosis, likely total paralysis.
It's unimaginable.
And to make it worse, Oki's husband, he just leaves, walks out, leaves her completely alone to face this, to care for Sune.
So the foundation is just laid in immense hardship right from the start.
Absolutely. Which leads into part 2. Years of, struggle and incredible devotion. Money was tight, obviously, so Oki had to go back to teaching.
Right, she had to work.
Yeah, and for a time, Sune lived with Oki's sister. The account suggests that caused Oki a lot of guilt.
I can only imagine.
So she retires in 1953 after 30 years teaching, and immediately it's like the switch flips. Guilt, resolve.
Yeah.
She decides she's dedicating every single second left to Sune.
And not just basic care, right?
No, far from it. Even though Sune couldn't move, Oki taught her to read and write Korean, even some Chinese characters, right to her constantly.
Amazing.
And what's really striking in the accounts is that Sune's mind was sharp. She absorbed it all, found joy in learning, could even recite poems. Those are the little bright spots for Oki.
The small moments of connection.
Exactly. Which brings us to part 3. Here we see Oki at 100. Physically, she's declining, frail, stooped, hearing loss, memory issues starting.
But still caring for her daughter.
Nonstop. And she actually said, didn't she, that she felt she had no time to age or be sick.
Yeah, because Sune needed her constantly. It's that paradox, isn't it? Sune depends on Oki's body, but Oki seems to depend on Sune for her.
Mm-hmm.
Her reason to keep going, her mental anchor.
Precisely. The physical work is immense, day in, day out, lifting, cleaning, constant vigilance. But the accounts really stress she never showed frustration, always found happiness in just a smile from her daughter.
But part 3 also brings in that fear.
Oh, yeah. Deep, deep fear. Overwhelming anxiety about what happens to Sune when she's gone. I mean, Sune is 68, but completely dependent.
And that's where that incredibly difficult quote comes from.
Yeah. As a mother, I shouldn't think this way, but I strongly wish that when I leave this world, my daughter could go with me.
Chilling. But you understand it, given the context.
You do. It's not malice, it's terror. Terror born of immense love, terrified of her daughter suffering alone after a lifetime of complete care. It's a stark look at how love and burden are just completely intertwined here.
And she was saving money too, wasn't she? Despite living on very little.
Yes, living on basic support, but diligently, painstakingly saving every little bit. She saw that small amount of money as Sune's only lifeline, her daughter's future, basically.
Wow. Okay, so after all that, decades of this, we finally get to part 4. It's titled The Eternal Lamp of Love. What happens here?
This part, it feels like a culmination. The scene described is Sune lying in bed, as usual, but the detail is she's looking at her mother, Oki, with really clear eyes, and she reaches out, grabs her mother's hand.
And after all these years, she speaks to her mother.
Yes. The accounts share her words, and they carry so much weight. You know, decades of silent reliance. She looks right at Oki and says, "Mom, you are the most wonderful person in the world."
Oh, one couldn't.
And then, maybe the most powerful line, "Every day I've lived is all thanks to you. I couldn't live a single day without you. Thank you so much for protecting me. Mom, you were everything to me. My life itself, your love kept me alive."
Wow. Just letting that sink in.
Yeah.
68 years. And then that direct acknowledgement. How did Oki react?
The accounts say she was just deeply moved, tears streaming down her face, but it sounds like a mix, joy, maybe sadness, recognizing the truth of it all. She just held Sune's hand tightly.
A release, maybe?
It seemed like it. The feeling described is that in that single moment, all the suffering, the decades of burden, it just vanished. It highlights that mutual reliance again. They literally were each other's reason for being.
Their existence defined by each other.
Completely. And their little room, despite everything, is described almost like a sanctuary, just filled with this incredible love.
That exchange is powerful enough on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But part 4 also brings in someone else, right? An outsider's view.
It does. A volunteer caregiver, Lee Sula, she was 44. She'd been visiting them. And the accounts say she was just deeply impressed, almost in awe of Oki.
What did she observe? What was her takeaway?
She basically provides this external validation of what feels like a miracle. She's quoted saying something like, "I think the mental strength to care for her daughter is why the grandmother is living so healthily."
Wow.
She calls it a miracle impossible to explain medically, and then it's the greatest love I've ever seen. She felt Oki's motherly love gave her the strength to overcome anything. She said, "Truly, her life gives us all a great lesson."
So the volunteer saw it too. This wasn't just internal family feeling. It was observable.
Yes, and she explicitly names it Neo, motherly love, as this supreme, almost supernatural force.
To see that level of sacrifice acknowledged as something almost beyond medical explanation, fueled just by love and sheer will, it really underscores how extraordinary this is.
It really does. And now, if we kind of zoom out, look at the whole story, this whole century of motherly love. It's just breathtaking.
From a young teacher with her own life.
Right? Her own future, everything ahead of her. And then her entire existence gets redefined by one thing: caring for her daughter. Over half a century dedicated solely to that love, that duty.
That earlier comment about having no time to age. It feels chillingly literal now, seeing her at 100 still doing it all.
Exactly. It's not just a saying. It points to all the pain, the tears, the hardship buried underneath. Her youth wasn't just put on hold, it was completely offered up. Her entire life became the support structure for her daughter.
The now daughter 68, mother 100. And that bond, forged in so much pain, still there, still shining.
Yeah. The accounts sort of frame this inability to age or even consider dying because of the child as almost a mother's destiny, like the ultimate expression of that maternal love.
All the suffering gets somehow transformed.
Yeah, distilled, maybe, sublimated entirely into the name of love. Their life, against all odds, is presented as this noble, almost epic drama.
It makes you ask those big questions the source material raises, doesn't it? Like, what really is the most beautiful thing? What's the most precious?
And then the answer suggested, drawing from Oki's story, is maybe it's mothers. Mothers who live entirely for their child's happiness, who literally can't afford to get old or sick because someone depends on them so completely.
Nothing more precious than that kind of love.
That's the idea. Described with these grand images higher than the sky, deeper than the sea, this endless river of life. You picture Oki's face, tired in the morning light, and the accounts say you see the traces of that immense love etched right there.
So, okay, bringing this incredibly powerful story back to us, to the listeners, what's the takeaway for our own lives right now?
Well, I think these accounts act like a powerful mirror. Many of us listening, maybe we're parents now, or we still have our own parents around, and this story just forces you to ask.
How did I do that?
Yeah. Can we even grasp that level of sacrifice? And maybe just as importantly, the flip side, have we shown enough warmth, enough kindness, enough appreciation to our own parents for everything they've given us?
It really highlights how precious today is, doesn't it, this moment? The chance to just say something warm, make a call, give a hug, while we still can.
Absolutely. The story frames our parents as benefactors, Their presence in our lives is this gift we maybe sometimes take for granted.
Yeah.
And it implicitly encourages us maybe to look beyond our own families too, to see the sacrifices others have made, maybe extend kindness to older people we meet who might be struggling. The account suggests we might even see a little bit of our own mother's love reflected in their faces.
It's a powerful reminder that, yeah, all mothers embody this kind of greatness in their own way. And that love, the kind we saw with Oki and Sune, the kind called a miracle, it's not just some story. It's a real force. It's around us, shaping lives, often quietly, every single day.
A love that literally keeps someone going past 100, just out of pure devotion.
Yes. And with that, well, that concludes our deep dive into mother's love. It's a story of immense pain, yes, and unimaginable hardship. But ultimately, it's illuminated by a love so profound, so enduring, it really does feel like it transcends time, age, limits. It shines like a miracle.
It really does.
So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. Reflect on that kind of transformative, life-sustaining love. What does that level of devotion mean for the love that exists? Maybe quietly, maybe powerfully, in your own life, in your own family. Something to think about.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps us create even better content.